Good morning, everybody. It's Good Friday, so this seems like a good day to talk about death. I'm going to be doing a series for the Mortality with Meep videos, but make them each a little nugget. And today I just want to talk about baseline mortality. And the reason I'm talking about this is anytime you have a change in mortality trend, you need a baseline to compare it against. Right now, we're concerned with coronavirus deaths, and I will talk about that another time in excess mortality, but we need to have something to compare it to. I'm not going to do rates this time. I'm just going to do raw counts of death. And I'm going to pull down here. This is the National Center for Health Statistics at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I will provide that link so you can look at it yourself. This is their Fast Facts homepage where it gives you top level stats about mortality. And you'll see, if I go down here, these are numbers from 2017. It takes a few years for them to crunch the numbers and get things in a good form. You can get some preliminary numbers for 2018, but it's far too early, for example, to get 2019 deaths. They're not complete. So this is something just want to talk about, not about rates, which has its own challenges, but about raw death counts, is that it takes a while for your data to be complete. Some people have been talking about, oh, deaths are down for blah and blah, not realizing what they're looking at. You have some weeks reporting are 100% complete in their data, and some are only like 70%, 50% there. That's why the numbers are lower. They just haven't counted those ones yet. There's a lag, so know your data. Know your data. Okay, so 2.8 million deaths in 2017 in the United States. Let's look at the top causes for death. As per usual, heart disease is number one, and then comes cancer. Okay, so those are our top two. Let's look at those numbers. So about 650,000 versus 600,000. So think of those numbers. When you're hearing about deaths in the hundreds of thousands, that is serious because look down here, just 50,000 deaths will get you on this list of top 10 causes. Accidents are still a very top cause of death, but this tends to be a cause of death for younger people, and I will show that in a moment. So 170,000 for accidental deaths. With a lot of things locked down, I'm expecting the accidental death count to be down for this period of 2020. Chronic lower respiratory diseases, so you have stuff like emphysema in there, asthma, other things. Stroke is up there about 150,000. Alzheimer's disease has been a climbing cause of death with the aging of the population, but also some of it may be better diagnosis of Alzheimer's. I'll talk about trends another time. Diabetes has been a serious and increasing cause of death. Influenza and pneumonia. Now, this is actually mostly pneumonia. That's fine. But it's almost all coming from infectious diseases, and it is mostly older people dying from this. So we're seeing about 56,000. If we get coronavirus deaths over 60,000, say, that would really push the needle. Okay, the death rate seems to be worse than the flu. Again, not going to talk about that right now. Then we have kidney problems, so that's the nephritis, nephrotic syndrome, and nephrosis. So that's about 51,000, and then the last one, death by suicide, again, is about 50,000, 47,000, and that is also tends to be younger folks. So we've got some numbers to work with here. If you want a rate, and they have the rate up here, 863.8 deaths per 100,000 population. If you want this in percentage terms, that's about 0.9% of the population in 2017 in the United States died. That is what is called a raw death rate. You can say mortality rate, but we prefer mortality rate when it's by age. But this gives you an idea. 2.8 million deaths represents 0.9% of the population. If we have something that our death rate is 2 times, that's a huge increase in mortality. let's move on. There are complete reports, and I'm sorry, let me just show you what one of these summary reports look like. I'll go through one time just so that we can talk about some of the trends that are in here. But you'll see it's June 2019 for the final data and the final analysis on 2017. So you can see there's about a 2-year lag in getting our complete data. So this summer, one would be expecting the 2018 numbers to be completed. Okay, these are preliminary numbers for 2018. I'll give that to you. It doesn't change much year to year. And you'll see they're mainly talking about rates here and not about numbers because the numbers are not finalized. But I do want to talk about, okay, and they have all sorts of analyses based on states, based on age, and that kind of thing. But what I'm going to do now is a post that I did in 2019 based off of the final 2017 data. And I want to show you this table, 10 leading causes of death by age group. So I gave you the raw numbers for the entire U.S. population. Here it is broken out, the same categories as they have on that page that we saw with fast facts, with key causes of death highlighted. So the blue boxes are death by unintentional injury. So that's accidental death. And you see it's the top cause of death for basically people under 45. I'm not going to include infant mortality. It has its own issues. So most of the causes of death, unfortunately, for younger people tend to be violent. So we have accidental death, we have death by suicide, and death by homicide. Note that suicide is higher from age 10 to 55, actually, and it's actually quite a bit higher for most age groups in terms of numbers of people who die that way. But you might find it interesting. So the older folks, if it's age 65 and up, you see there's about 56,000 accidental deaths there. That's a good percentage. So older folks still have a lot of accidental deaths, but the kind of accidental deaths you have at that age differ from the ones of like people in their 20s. Okay, the people in their 20s, it's more often car accidents, doing extreme sports, and doing other stupid things. Okay, let's get away from that. Cancer. Cancer is a top cause of death for age 45 to 65, okay? Because heart disease hasn't really caught on if you're going to die. But look at these numbers. So I have about 40,000, about 115,000. Versus, again, for seniors, that's almost 520,000 deaths. Oh, I'm sorry, that's by heart disease. By cancer, it's about 430,000. Okay, so it's still, most of these causes of death are actually killing a lot more older people than younger people. The one I do want to look at that's not highlighted here is flu and pneumonia. So again, we saw it here in number 8 at 56,000. And again, it kills mainly seniors, so that's about 47,000 of those deaths are in the 65 and older category. Let me just see if it shows up at younger ages, and no, it's not showing up in the 55 to 64. Just taking a look, not showing up in the 45 to 54, not showing up in the 35 to 44. Let's see, we're not seeing in 25 to 34. Notice complicated pregnancies here, but that's only 512 people. 15 to 24, we do see flu and pneumonia, but it's less than 200 people. Okay, flu and pneumonia is a huge killer of older people, and I think a lot of people don't take it seriously because, again, older people are dying at such rates, and at it's like, oh, you expect them to die. So that's a pleasant thought. Anyway, it's good to have these numbers. I will provide these links. You can look at all of these numbers yourself, but I think people might have a difficulty in thinking about rates. So when you hear projected total deaths, compare it against this. The population of the U.S. doesn't change much year to year. So comparing 2017 against 2020 is reasonable. Okay, it's not that many years ago. The causes of death don't move a lot generally from year to year, though obviously we're going to get a move with coronavirus. The question is, we're talking hundreds of thousands of deaths. That is significant. That is a significant number. Tens of thousands of deaths, if that's all excess, that also is somewhat meaningful, but not as meaningful as 100,000 extra deaths. So you need to know what the baseline is so you know if something is extreme. Okay. Early numbers that we were seeing. So here is something that I had heard early on, that the overall case fatality rate was about 1%. So that's not really age weighted, but let's just say it's 1% overall. Suppose the whole population get it and 1% die. That would be more deaths. That would be millions of deaths. More deaths than we usually get in a year. Okay, that would be extreme. 1% of the population dying on top of the almost 1% who die every year is a huge mortality increase. And mortality increase, it's 2 times regular mortality. That's extreme. Now, that's not what we're seeing, but part of this has to do with policy. In any case, let's get back to the numbers. Here's some concrete numbers that are easy to work with. So if you're looking at news stories, have this table, 10 leading causes of death. Now, this doesn't have the total deaths, but if you want to compare against causes, this will be helpful. And if you want total deaths, you can go to the fast facts, and it will give it to you. Okay, and you will see the same numbers for number of deaths for leading cause of death. Okay, got some numbers to compare to. Go think about that.